Welcome back to Same Right Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to sew this beautiful gown with cape and peplum. As you can see right here, the cape have not been beaded, but I'm going to bead it after this tutorial. So you can see how the cape is well relaxed on the body. As you can see, you can make your cape bolder than this. You can see our stylish peplum as well. So I'm using a waist belt for this dress. So you can make the peplum 360 degrees and style it, or you can make it 720 degrees and style it. It's all your choice. So please stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. I'm going to explain what I just did right here. Okay, I lost my video clip and I'll have to show you what I did. So just pay attention for the explanation of my sketches. So the first thing I did was my basic bodice pattern. So here is my basic bodice pattern, my bust dart, my waist dart, and I'm using a princess dart for it. Of course, so many of us know how to go about the princess dart. So for this princess dart, this is what I did. I took the measurement of my armhole. So this is my armhole. I took the measurement this way and I got 10 inches. So half of 10 inches is 5 inches. I made my mark. Then I placed my pattern ruler like this on that 10 inches. So this is how I placed it and I marked. That was how I got this line. Then I stepped down from that 5 inches by 1 inch like this. And I connected it again. From the bust point, I placed my ruler too and connected to the bust point and came out by 1 inch to accommodate my dart. And I placed my pattern ruler this way and connected back to the armhole. So this is the dart we are going to cut off. That is what I shaded right there. So I believe this part is clear. So now comes the cape of this dress. So for the cape of this dress, the cape width is 3.5. From the tip of your shoulder, come in by 3.5 and make a mark. From this is the center front, on the chest line, I came in by 1.5 and made a mark. And on the waistline, I came in by ½ an inch and made a mark. This is how I connected it. I placed my ruler this way, connected 1.5 to the waistline at ½ an inch, pushed my ruler from the chest line and connected to that 3.5. That is how I got the first line. Then the second line of this cape, my cape width is 1 inch for this particular dress, 1 inch. On the chest line, you come by 1, the width is 1.5. So I placed my ruler again from 1.5 to 1 inch and pushed my ruler a little bit this way. You have to be somehow careful here and mark. So when I got here, I freehand that part because my ruler was unable to give me what I want on the cape. So here is the cape for the front and we are going to trace it out. So the next is my under bust contour line. So I'm going to contour this under bust because it's a bustier. So I love to go this way. From the center front, I'll place my tape and measure my under bust. My under bust circumference rounded is 35 inches. Divide by 4 is 8.75. I'll make my mark. So but before that, your waist dart has to be 1.5 if you're on a bigger size. On a small size, you can use 1 inch. Then make sure you replace it too. So here I measured my waist circumference divided by 4, 9.5, and I replaced my dart at 1.5. So you have to replace your dart before you do this. So my under bust is 35 divided by 4 is 8.5. I marked. So I'm going to take what I have left. So here I have 1.5 or 1 point, a little bit before 1.75. So I'm going to place 1.25 here, sorry, 0.25. So if I place 0.25, I'll be left with 1.25 or a little bit. Okay, 1.25 or a little bit. So what I did was to share what I got here, 0.25. The remaining from this dot, you place it right here. So you can use any underbust contour line of your choice. So here I'm going to place my ruler this way, as you can see. So make sure you place it very well so you don't give room on your bust area. So here I placed mine, and then I'll flip my ruler like this and place it to this point. So after that is done, I'm going to connect what I have from here to the waist and from here to the waist. So that is it for the dart. So I'm going to cut out these darts. When I'm cutting now, I'm going to cut it all the way down there. So we are done with the front. Next is to trace what we have on the front. But before we go ahead to trace, I want us to go over to the back and draft the back as well. So the back, this is my shoulder on the back, and this is my chest, and this is the waistline. So of course, using the bust dart technique, you can see my waist is shorter. For the back length is shorter by 2 inches. Can you see that? It's shorter by 2 inches. So if you don't know why it's shorter than 2 inches, you can go back to our basic bodice pattern drafting on this channel. So after that, I contoured my back by 1 inch to avoid zip bulge. Many a times we have zip bulges, so I just came in by 1 inch and connected my ruler to the neckline like this. That is the part we are going to remove for zip bulge. Then after that, you now place your tape. This is your new center back. You place your tape and take the measurement of your waist circumference, divide by 4. So mine is 9.5, and my bust circumference on the chest line divided by 4 is 40. That is 10 inches. I have no dart for the back at all, so don't bother about that. So now I'll come back to the tip. Remember, here we measured, we came in by 3.5. I'm going to repeat the same process, 3.5 on the shoulder line like this. Then the depth, I'm going to go by the depth of 8 inches. I'm using 8 inches for my back depth, and I'll mark it on this contour line because that is the new center back. So after that, I'm going to place my pattern ruler like this. You can see how I placed it. The curvy part of it, that is what I'm using. I placed it that way. Then after that, I came in from the center back and I came in by 1/2 inch. So just come in by 1/2 inch and make a mark. Place your ruler on that 8 inches, cross it to the 1/2 inch, and then make a line of about 4 or 4.25. It depends on how long you want it to be. So mine is from here 4.25. Then I'll place my pattern ruler, the curvy part of it, this way, just to give it a stylish cape design at the back. So this is my cape for the back. So we are done for back and front. So the next thing we are going to do now is to trace the cape. I'm going to trace my cape using my brown pepper. So I'm going to place my brown pepper and I'm going to trace exactly all the lines of the cape I drafted, as you can see. So I'm using my pattern rulers accordingly, exactly the way I used them on my white pepper. So here is the front cape, and I'm going to trace out the back cape accordingly as well. So make sure you trace your cape exactly the way you drafted, or else you are not going to get a good result. So my cape is ready and I've cut it out. So you place it back on the pattern to make sure it fits accordingly. So for the front cape, I left 1 inch because we are going to join back and front cape together first. So I'm going to use my adhesive to join front and back cape together, then blend the sharp edge of the cape. So now we want to create the illusion. So for the illusion, I'm going to take the measurement from the shoulder at 7.5. So it depends on how deep you want your illusion to be. Then this is 7.5, and I'll also mark 7 inches on the cape itself. Then I'm going to use the curvy part of my ruler to connect it to give us that beautiful illusion. Tracing out the illusion, this is what I have. So the next I'm going to do is to cut out my pattern accordingly. So I'm cutting through the cape part first, so I'll be able to cut out the illusion. So the illusion part is going to be on fold, as you can see right there. I have the fold sign, so make sure you cut it out accordingly. So this pattern needs to be cut accordingly, and that is why I'm cutting it right here on camera, because I need you to see everything I cut. So I'm cutting through the princess dart line, through the waistline to the princess dart, and to the bust dart. So after that, I'm going to close up my bust dart. So make sure you cut accordingly, like I keep emphasizing, as this might affect your pattern. So I've closed up my bust dart right now. So the pattern for the front is actually very much ready, as you can see. So now we'll have to go over to the cutting of the back pattern. So for the back pattern, I will cut the back pattern accordingly as well. So I'm going to cut through the neckline for the back, as you can see, to the shoulder seam line, to the armhole, and to the body. So the back does not have any dart, but if you wish to put a dart for your back, you can use a princess dart or a normal dart for it. So all our patterns are quite very much ready. So I'm going to join the shoulder seam lines together. Like I said, the cape is going to be joined together. So I apply my adhesive and seal it up. Then you can go ahead and blend up the rough edges. So I'm using my pattern ruler to do that. And this is my cape. So my cape is ready, and I've cut out my patterns. As you can see, I added half an inch, and on the side of the dress I added 2 inches to it. So I'm going to sew all of this together. So the illusion is on fold, like I said, and I use the 2 mesh, and I also use a dollface satin as interfacing for it, because I don't want to expose the bust area. So you can use an ordinary 2 mesh for it as well. So I made a notch on the shoulder seam of the cape, and I added 2 inches on the side of the back and 1 inch for the zipper allowance. So now I'm going to create I made a notch first. Make sure you make a notch from the part you are going to join illusion and the under bust. Make sure you make notches. That will make your work easy when you are joining the center front and the side of the front. So now we are going to create the bustier padding. So I'm using a wadding for this. So I'm going to use my bust radius all around, as you can see. My bust radius is 3.5, so I'm using it all around. Then from the bust point, I measured my 3.5 again for the center part to create the bustier padding for the front. So here I'm going to cut out my wadding, and I've cut it out. So I added half an inch all around, including the center front. So I'm going to place it right now, the sticky side on the dress. Then I'm going to use my hairstay to iron it out accordingly, as you can see. So I'm using a sequin fabric anyway, as you can see in that picture. Alright, so here you can see I'm done with sticking the bustier. So I use my hairstay to cover them accordingly. So now I'm going to sew the bustier. So I'm going to sew them this way. So normal bustier sewing, I'll just go over to my machine and sew from the down to the point. Do the same for this, give them a good press. So here I've joined the bustier, as you can see right here. I have the lining and the fabric, everything on the bustier has been joined. So the next thing we are going to do is to prepare the cape, because we are going to join the cape before the illusion. So I'll go ahead and bring my cape. So here I've already detached my cape. Like I said, I have 4 pieces of them. So here is it, and I've laid them right side to right side. So I went ahead and used my hairstay for my cape. So I'll go ahead and sew the outer piece of the cape. I'll go over to the machine. I'm going to stitch at 0.5 like this and top stitch. You can see how I'm taking it. That's how I'm going to sew. Once I get here, I will sew here, but I'm going to leave here open to turn the cape. I'll do the same for this too. So now I've already sewn my cape, as you can see. So at this pointed edge, you can see how I crossed it. So I'm going to place my notches on the side I stitched. Then I will go over to my machine and top stitch accordingly. So I'm going to flip all my seams right now on the part of the one I call lining. One is lining, one is fabric. So this is my lining. I'm going to top stitch till I get to the end. So right here, I'm done top stitching. So I'm going to turn the cape around right now. But the first thing I'm going to do is to cut off the excess area on the pointy part and make notches if possible before turning. So you can see me turning it right now. So I'll just go ahead and use my screwdriver or anything sharp to bring out the sharp. So this is my cape, and the cape is ready, as you can see. So one is on the right and the other is on the left. So make sure you place and top stitch very well. So the next we are going to do is to join the bodies. Like I said, we are going to sew the cape first. So I'm going to join the back and the front. So my front is ready, and like I said, my back is darkless. So I'll just pick it up and I'm going to join the shoulder seams. I'll do that for lining. I'll also do that for fabric. So I'll go to the machine now. I'm going to join the shoulder seams accordingly. So I'll sew at 0.5 inch and give it a good press as well. So let me do that. So after joining back and front, this is what I have for the boat dress. So we are going to attach the cape accordingly. So remember, I asked you to make notch. So at that notch, I'm going to place it at the shoulder seam line, and I'm going to align this till I get to the end. So I'll just secure it with my pin, and then I'm going to go over to my machine to stitch on it. So make sure the notch is at the shoulder seam. So that's where I'm going to secure with my pin. So you can pin all around as well. And this will also be at this point. So I'm going to the machine now to stitch it to the dress. And then after that, we'll go over to the illusion. So make sure you still have your illusion notch. So this is my illusion notch right here. I have the notch right here, so I can transfer the notch to, in fact that is where my bust here started. Okay, so you can transfer it with a mark at the back before you stitch. I've prepared my collar and I've stitched it to the main body. So the next thing we want to do now is to sew the illusion. So the illusion is going to be in between, and I made a mark. Like I said, make a mark on the notch for the illusion attachment. So I'll go ahead to sew my illusion. So like I said, if you want it open, you might not use this. So I want mine open. I don't want it to reveal. So I'm using my mesh on top of it like this, and I'm going to also turn it with my mesh. So I'll have this in between. So I'll just quickly go ahead and I'm going to stitch only the neckline. I'll stitch the neckline, top stitch and turn, then we'll sew to the bodies. So I've stitched the mesh together. I just follow the neckline. So next you will do is to make notches. Don't forget to make notches because that place is rounded. Then I'm going to flip one of my mesh. I'm going to sew top stitch right here because I want one mesh I want this to be inside like this. So I'm going to top stitch on this, give it a good press. So after that, I'm going to align it well and hold it down with my stitch before we attach to the neckline. Illusion, I've prepared it, I've turned it as you can see. So I'm going to sew the illusion. So at the point I marked, I'm going to pin my illusion at that point. So I will go ahead and sew this one first. Okay, so I'm going to sew at 1/2 inch to the end. Then when I return, I'll sew to this other part. So after sewing the illusion to this, I'll flip it this way and pin the illusion at this point too. So make sure it's at this point so everything is equal. So I'm going to sew this at 1/2 inch to the end too. So after sewing the illusion, this is what I have. So I'll come in with my lining. I'm going to place my lining as if I want to sew it, as if I've sewn it already. So you can see how it's going to be at the end of the day. So I'll gently flip it like this. Then I'm going to pin seam lines to seam lines. I'll stitch to the end of it, then top stitch. So make sure you align it very well. So after sewing and top stitching, I'll also bring this and place it right here and repeat the same process. I'll flip it this way, then pin the seam lines together, make sure I match them, then I'm going to sew and top stitch. You can see the lining has been fixed. So the next we are going to do now is to fit this dress. So just go ahead and fit your dress, fabric to fabric and lining to lining. So I'm going to sew up the seam allowances which I added to this dress. Okay, I'll do that for lining and I'll do that for fabric. Back to the peplum, we are going to do a little calculation before we proceed. So I'm working with waist 38 inches. So but if you look at that dress, you can see at the center front there's a little gap of 1 inch, and at the center back we have a gap of 3 inches, which is total of 4 inches. So I'm going to minus 38 from 4. If I do that, I'll be left with 34. So we are using 34 inches divided by 6.28. So that will give me about 5.6 inches. So that's what I'm going to use to cut my peplum. So we are cutting 360 degrees, which we are going to share into 2 parts. So I'll fold my pepper as usual, and I'm going to fold it again. So I'm using the radius of 5.6. I'm working with 5.6. So here I'm going to measure 5.6. That will be the radius. Then the length of my peplum is 8 inches. So my pepper is not enough, so I'll add up my pepper right here. So I'll just cut what I have here. On the fabric, I'm going to add up this. So I'm using 8 inches. So whatever your radius is, just go ahead and use it. So I'm going to cut my peplum. So when I open my peplum, here is going to serve as center back, and here is going to serve as center front. So this is what I meant by 1 inch. On the center front, we are going to share 1 inch into 2. So we'll have half this side and half that side. Then we'll come from here and you go in by 3 inches on both sides. So I'm going to connect what we have here. I'll use my pattern ruler if it's going to give me exactly what I want. So if it does not give me what I want, then I can freehand it as well. So I'm just trying to create that design. I'm creating that design at the front. Then coming over to the back, we are going to come out by 1.5 this way, 1.5 this way. So we'll still go in by 3 inches this way, 3 inches that way. So I'll just simply go ahead and connect a straight line like this. So that is the pattern for the peplum. So I'll just go ahead and choose one part because they are equal. So I will just use one to cut out my peplum right side and right front side. So you can just go ahead and create your design. You can see how I created it. I just want it to look exactly how I want it. So I'll use this one. This one will be for front and back. So what I have here is what I have here. So I'm not using this. Let me go by what I have here. So try and make a notch. This is the side of the peplum. That is the peplum side. So I'm going to cut out my peplum right now. I'm going to hairstay, cut and pepper, hairstay, and top stitch. I've already cut my peplum, so I just extended the part that was not enough on my fabric. So I added half an inch to sew this side and half an inch to sew here as well. So the length is 9 inches because I'm going to sew half and half, remaining 8 inches for the peplum. So I'll just go ahead and prepare my peplum. So I have four of them here. So I'll go to my machine now. I'm going to sew it all around. So I'm sewing directly without haste because the peplum is just going to be, you can see how it is, just very light. So if you want, you can still haste. If you want, you can sew like that. So let me go and prepare the peplum. I've ironed it, I've given it a good press, I top stitched on it as well. So this is what we have right here. So when you are top stitching, you really need to be careful. So your top stitching lays on the right side. You know, this is the front piece of this peplum. So we are going to attach this part, the curvy part, this way, and the straight part at the back. So I'll come over with the dress and I'm going to sew the dress accordingly. So I'm going to use a method because we have the lining fixed to it because of the illusion. So I have two options of stitching, either to stitch everything together or to stitch it separately. So I'll go ahead and stitch. I'm going to stitch separately. I'll attach from here. I'll just start from here to attach this. I'm going to attach from here before the illusion. So I'll go over to my machine. I'm going to stitch till I get to the end of the peplum. So let me attach. I'm done attaching the peplum. So the next thing we are going to do is to prepare the skirt piece of this dress. So we want to go over to the skirt piece now that we are done with the upper border. So like I said, this is a gown. So being a gown, you are going to draft your skirt piece from your waistline. So my waistline is 17, so you can see here is the waistline. I'm drafting it from my through waist. So my waist is 17, my shoulder to hip is 29. I came up to the upper hip by 2 inches. So this is the upper hip and this is the lower hip. Then my knee, my actual knee is 40. I counted 1, 2, 3 to enable me to walk very well with this skirt. Then the full length of this gown, shoulder to floor length, I'm using 62 inches. So I've already imputed my waist. My waist circumference divided by 4 is 9.5. My hip divided by 4 is 12 inches. I removed 2 inches on the knee. My knee, I removed 2 inches from 12 inches. I have 10 inches. And on the hem, I did my hip, which is 12, plus 6 inches at extension. So now, this is how we are going to draft the front piece of this pattern as it is there, right there on the thumbnail. So this is my center front area right now. So from the hip, from the waistline, simply come down by 6 inches. And at that 6 inches, you also come down from the knee by 1.5 inches. So once you have done that, use your pattern ruler and point it towards the 1.5 inches below the waistline. So I'll just go ahead and create this mark. We are going to separate this skirt. So I'll just use my straight line. So I'll call this C1. Okay, or S1, which is skirt 1, and this is skirt 2. So here I'm going to come down from this 1.5. I'll come down from this 1.5. I'm going to slash and spread that part right now. So I'll slash and spread it. So once you have drawn your line, next is to find the mid line for your slash and spread. So here I have 5.5. I'll come over to the hem and I'm going to mark 5.5. I'm going to connect this 5.5 with a straight line like this. So I call this skirt 3 and skirt 4. So now I'm going to cut these patterns right away. So I'll first cut my pattern. So here I'm cutting my pattern. So I'll just cut the side of the pattern, as you can see, the down piece of it, the upper piece, the center front, before I start to separate the skirts. So the part I have is the center front, and I'm cutting it through the slanted area. So now I'm going to open up the slash and spread, so you can see how I'm opening it up. So please don't cut out all. So you can slash and spread as much as you want, depending on how much fabric you have. So the pattern is quite ready right now. So I'm going to place it on fabric and add my seam allowances. So you can see the folded parts, I've placed it on fold and added 0.5 inch on the side and 1 inch on the side. I did that for lining and fabric. So here is the slash and spread part. So you can slash and spread as much. I spread mine at 8 inches. You can make it 10 inches or 12, depending on how much flay you want on the center front area. So now I made a notch 2 on the part I'm going to join the S1. So now I'll go over to the machine. I'll join the S1 first. Then once I join them together on both sides, you can see I've joined it together on both sides. So next is to join the center front area where I slash and spread to make the flay. So this is actually a stylish skirt. You can use it for any other fabric of your choice. So I've joined the front and back skirt. Like I said, the back is not a problem. It's your normal man-made back skirt. So now I'm going to join the skirt to the peplum accordingly. So I'll match center front to center front. And I'm going to run my stitches only on the fabric and the lining the same way. So here I'm going to attach my zipper because I'm done joining the lining and the fabric of the. Attached my sleeve, the dress is ready, and I went ahead to sew my crinoline. Okay, I have to sew crinoline on the hem of the skirt, and the lining is half lining. So thank you very much for coming to this tutorial once again. I believe this class was helpful to you. If you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe, turn on your notification bell to receive videos like this every day. Like this video, share to family and friends, drop your comment on the comment section and your suggestions as well. Thank you once again. See you in the next class. Bye.